I'm going to take you through the process of what I do and what I look for breaking into a new market. So when I break into a new market, the first thing that I want to do is you want to obviously better understand the demand, especially for rental properties, if that's what you're going into. And that's what I do majority of time, right? So looking at multifamily apartments, and I want to see is demand outweighing the supply. And right now, honestly, just about anywhere, that is really, really easy. But I also want to see how fast is rent growth. So for example, we're in Madison today, and in Madison, it's the second highest rent growth in the entire country. Those are obviously really strong indicators of the market that you're about to going into could have a lot of potential. You want to look at the labor. What does the market look like for labor? So if you have demand is high, supply is low, you're going to see the rent start increasing really quickly. You got a lot of jobs and a desirable area where people want to live. Only other factor that I really look at, because it's huge when it comes to families and retention and how long they want to live there, is the schools as well. And in Wisconsin, we got some of the best school systems in general too. So besides all of that, then I'm going to start looking into how to operate the property, right? So now I know it's a potential great place to be able to acquire a property. But to operate it, you want to look into things like material costs, labor rates, how effective will your systems be, or do you need to change any of your systems? And then how fast or how quickly can you implement them? So for me, I don't break into another city for 50 units or even for 100 units. I want to break into a city for 200 or more units. And honestly, the real sweet spot for efficiency is 500 to 1,000. And that's just where our systems become really, really effective and really, really efficient. For example, obviously, we're here on one of the two different apartment complexes that are 100 plus. We can now hire staff that can go between both properties. This staff is now trained on our systems that have been effective, back in other markets as well. One of those systems that I always look at implementing, and this is just a small example, you're going to come here and you're going to implement your systems on how to make the properties look great, how to make them feel great, how to implement your rehab, your maintenance, your keys. But it's even the smaller systems, and this isn't small, actually, this is a huge tip for you, is where do you put the appliances, the good appliances, when you're rehabbing a unit to be able to reuse. It took us way too long to figure out, but if you're doing a lot of rehab like me, and for example, your rehab calls for stainless steel appliances, and you have a great white refrigerator, still works perfectly well, it's in good conditions, where do you put it? So we have a system where we put that in something that's called a appliance depot, a place where we'll collect it, we'll inventory it, and we'll know it's there. That way, if a non-rehab unit or a unit that does need a white fridge goes out, we have a perfectly good appliance ready to go. And you might be thinking, well, that's like just a small detail. Why would you create a space and inventory it to be able to keep some of this stuff? Why wouldn't you just turn and move really quickly through these units? As you start to scale, it starts to add up. A typical fridge can be $700, $800. Let's call it $8. Well, if you have 3,500 units like me, that's $2.8 million. I own $2.8 million worth of just refrigerators. If you also put in a stove, which will be what, $600? If you put in a dishwasher, that's $400. Now you're at about $2,000 of just appliances per unit. Take 2,000 times 3,500 units. That means I own $7 million worth of appliances. So you might understand why a simple process of, in a new market, having a place to be able to put the appliances so that you can reuse them if an appliance breaks down. And by the way, it's not just saving money, it's about speed too. You have an appliance on site, you can be able to bring that when their appliance goes out really, really quickly. Don't need to go to the store. So it's creating speed, you're creating a great service for the resident, and obviously you are saving money. Real estate's not that complicated. It's just if you slow down and think about the systems and the processes that would make you more effective and drive your net operating income, you want to bring all that to the new market. I actually tell a lot of newer investors, don't break into a new market until you have the systems in place in your current market. I spent, I think it was 5, maybe even 6 years in the same city or 2 cities around it because I was perfecting the systems. Something as simple as the appliance depot process, we didn't have all those down. Now when we break into a new market, we have the process down, we have the people down, and we can easily be able to train that. Besides figuring out the market research and break into a new market, the very next thing I'll do is my team will spend an enormous amount of time making an impact that the residents can see, because we want them to feel that there's a new property management company. And that's a big advantage I have, right? I own my own property management company. If you don't, it's very important that you ask what your property management company is going to do that first day, that first 72 hours, that first week, that first month, because the residents will notice. And you want them to notice that there's a different PM company that's there, and therefore adding value that you will be able to capture later on. While my team's doing all that, I am looking for things within the business where I can implement the systems and I can ask the right questions to my property management company so that we can rather quickly move with speed. For example, who is going to run this property when it comes to grass, snow, common area cleaning, the smell of the hallways, or anything that could possibly break down in there? Is there a repeatable process and person in place? Because when you break into a new market, that all changes. What does our rehab teams look like here? I'll tell you, we take some of our best rehab teams from in other cities and we bring them here to do the first 5-6 months worth of rehabs. We do that because we know that we're going to rehab that unit world class. Then they'll train new employees, people actually that live within the city, to be able to rehab these units world class. And then we'll pull our best rehab teams back off. And now with the teams that we've created that were trained under our best teams, they will stay here. So a lot of our processes work that way too. We'll pull leaders, we'll pull trainers, and we'll have them run our new market for a little bit, but they're not just running it. They're setting up the processes, and then they're training people here. And then once those people are on the new processes and trained the way that we want them to, then we'll pull our trainers back, then we'll pull our leaders back, and now the market can stand on its own 2 feet. That's where stepping on the gas pedal starts. Now this is where you can escalate your acquisitions. So now you can move and add a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, get up to 500 to 1,000 units. So you want to continue to grow while you're setting up systems, but you just can't grow too quick. So right now in this market, we will spend the next 90 days implementing our systems, training our team, pulling back some of our best players to test and see if our new staff can operate the systems the way that we want. And we'll be able to do that through KPIs. Like, that's one of the best things you can do while you grow. So when you expand to a new market, you already know what the key performance indicators should look like. So if you trained right and they're actually on the systems, you'll be able to keep an accurate picture of what is going on, which that'll tell you everything you needed to know with your market research, right? Was this the right market? Was this the right acquisition? And can you add more?